Feldman News Network on FNN for Channel 7 News. Off to our field reporter.
We are interviewing.
My name is Damian Rakelshak.
Yes. So, what is folk culture?
Folk culture is culture traditionally practiced by small homogeneous groups living in relative isolation from other groups, like the Amish from Pennsylvania or the Native Americans before the British came and took over.
Yes. And we got to emphasize that folk culture is small groups that are isolated. It's not popular culture.
Not popular indeed.
On break. Gabriel Jimenez asked me to talk about pop culture.
So I am. Pop culture is found in a large group of heterogeneous society that shares certain habits despite the differences in personal characteristics. Is that correct, Gabe?
It sure is. And a good example of popular culture?
America.
I'm Gabriel Jimenez, and we are interviewing
Dennis Lindsay.
So, what is music and popular culture?
Music and popular culture is written by specific individuals for the purpose of being sold.
Yes. And what are some examples of this music and popular culture?
Some artists like Drake.
Yeah. And he is a good example because he sells music and writes it.
Correct.
I'm Gabriel Jimenez, and we are interviewing
Dennis Lindsay.
Yes. And what is folk music?
Folk songs tell a story or convey information about daily activities such as farming.
And yes. Can you give me an example?
Bob Dylan made folk music.
And what instruments do folk songs typically have?
Usually guitars because they tell a story.
Thank you. And I'm interviewing
Justin V. Whopper III.
Yes. So, what is food and folk culture?
Folk food habits are embedded strongly in the environment. Food in popular culture may include fast food, but food in folk culture include things like curry, or other foods that you might see traditionally.
Yes. And does folk food usually taste different than maybe popular culture food?
Yes, very much so. The things they use in the recipes are vastly different,
And why is that?
because they have different ingredients and access to different materials, and they don't make things like we do.
And their ingredients are deeply... I'm interviewing.
Justin Vincent III.
Alright, so, what are sports?
Well, they're a good example, actually, of how popular culture is diffused. Example, here in Canada, we have a lot of hockey. And in America, we have things like football. Yes, soccer is also a good example of a sport because it has a lot of folk culture origin.
Yeah. So, what are some other sports that might be embedded in popular culture?
NASCAR is a good example. It's diffused a lot. There's also things like baseball and cricket. That's a good example of a folk culture sport.
Well, cricket is not popular in America. That's why you might think it's a folk culture sport. But it is popular in other countries.
Yes, very much so. Many of my friends in India, they like to play cricket a lot.
Yes, it is very popular in Gabriel Jimenez. And I'm interviewing Damian Rakelshak.
It's Rakelshak.
Alright. So,